Are we losing the United in the United States of America? Our next guest thinks we've strayed from the core values of America and calls it the Balkanized states of America. Joining us now to tell us why is Florida Congressman Colonel Allen West. Good to see you, Colonel.
Always good to see you, Dave, and hopefully you had a good Independence Day celebration.
It was fantastic. I hope you do it as well. You wrote on the Washington Times about the balkanization by gender, race, sexual orientation, or income in these United States will lead us to a path of ruin. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that you've been discussing that this morning already with, I believe, Father Jonathan and also Governor Scott Walker, where you look at the liberals who have moved away from the hope and change to a more divisive and a more envious type of rhetoric of dividing us in order to separate us among those lines of gender or sexual orientation or income levels or class, because the most important thing is to try to control and have power. And if you trace it back to some of the writings of Karl Marx, where he tried to pit the bourgeoisie against the proletariat, and in the 1830s there was a fantastic book called Democracy in America written by Alexis de Tocqueville. And he talked about how if we ever get to the point where politicians start to promise more largesse to separate groups from the public treasury, then that's the means by which they will try to promote their reelection and their control over the people.
At a fundraiser, a campaign event in Port St. Lucie this past week, you talked about the president saying he does not want you to have the self-esteem of getting up and earning and having that title of American. Quote, he'd rather you be his slave and be economically dependent upon him. Do you regret the choice of language you used at all?
Oh, absolutely not. You know, we should not regret telling the truth in the United States of America, and I think that that separates a politician from a statesman. When you look at the fact in June we had more people going on Social Security disability than we had jobs created. When you look at the fact that you've had 7 million more Americans on the poverty roll since the president took over, you have a 45% increase in food stamp recipients, and we know that during the time when the president was there and he had Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, we took unemployment benefits from 26 to 27 weeks up to 99 weeks. So what we're doing is we're creating a welfare entitlement class, and we're trying to pit the production class against them. And that's part of this divisive rhetoric that you see coming from the liberal establishment and especially from the president.
Conversely, what you're hearing from Mitt Romney is mainly pointing out the negatives about the president. The criticism about Romney is that you haven't heard enough of the positives about what he would do, about what he should do to get this economy going, to get this country united. What do you feel he should be talking about and what he should do?
Well, first and foremost, one of the things that I promoted people doing on Independence Day was reading the entire Declaration of Independence and understand the grievances that Thomas Jefferson brought against King George and understand the ideal of American individual sovereignty, which is preeminent in this country. So I think that when you look at the owner's tax policies that we cannot have this tax-mageddon where we see the rising of the tax rates, which will crush our small business owners. We need to make sure we reduce the regulatory burden that are affecting job growth in the private sector. We've got to open up the access to capital. I think you should go back to the Glass-Steagall Act and repealing the Dodd-Frank Act. And we just have to get back to the basics of economic security, energy security as well. And also we have to rightly promote our national security, because the sequestration is not going in the right direction when we see a more volatile world.
And are you satisfied with the way your candidate, Mitt Romney, has addressed those particular issues?
Well, I think that there is no doubt that he can do a lot better. I'm not part of his inner circle of advisors, and so I don't know what they discuss. But I think that the American people are looking for a message that, much the same as Ronald Reagan did, that focuses on the exceptionalism and the uniqueness of the United States of America. There is no doubt about the fact that President Obama is failing this country. But now we need to understand that why is America that beacon of liberty, freedom, and democracy? And we're looking for leadership that has the courage, the competence, the commitment, the conviction, and the character to show the brighter days for this country are still ahead.
You brought up something earlier that I wanted to ask you about. It's the number of people going on Social Security disability outpaced the jobs created by the economy in the month of June. But that's a trend that we've seen increase and hold actually pretty steady since 2009. Do you have any theory as to why that's happening? Is that something the federal government is creating, or just an unfortunate consequence of our economy?
Well, that is an unfortunate consequence of failing economic policies coming from the president. So that now when people are running out of the unemployment benefits, now they're looking toward going on Social Security disability. Since June of 2009 or so, we've seen 2.4 million private sector jobs created, but we've had 3.1 million people go on Social Security disability. And as we said, just this past month, the 85,000 went on Social Security disability as opposed to 80,000 jobs created. So once again, we're creating this sense of economic dependence, which to me is a form of modern 21st century slavery. We need to unleash the entrepreneurial spirit, the indomitable spirit of the United States of America, and not make more people wedded to government policies and programs.
Colonel Allen West, Congressman, thank you for being with us this morning.